right, everybody. Well, I'm on the Carnival Horizon with their cruise director, Pauly, who's given me the pleasure of doing this interview. So we have the baker's dozen questions for you, Pauly. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Cruise code! Yeah!
I just can't get away from a good time.
Coach Cruise, like, subscribe, share. You know what to do.
Question number one is relating to how long you've been with Carnival, because I know you were with Carnival and then you left for a while and then now you've come back. So what was your path to becoming cruise director, and could you tell us about your first and then now the comeback tour?
Yeah, so I started out as a dancer on the Carnival celebration in 2004, so technically 20 years with Carnival, but then obviously the pandemic, and I did take a 1.5 year break at one point in time, and it was just I didn't know I was going to be a cruise ship performer. I basically went to an audition blind. One of my friends was like, hey, do you want to go to this audition? It's in Canada. I was in Seattle in a musical with them at a time. And so I just went and auditioned, and next thing I knew, I was going to work on the celebration. It was kind of a funny thing because when they sent me to the celebration, they got my number mixed up with another boy who was a swing. And so he was set to go onto a ship that he had done before and supposed to go into the shows in a week. And when they sent me there on mistake, I had to still be a swing, and I had never done any of the shows or anything. So like on my first week, I thought I was going home and I would never, work again with Carnival. But it ended up working out. I worked really hard. That contract was great and everything. I just got offered better and better contracts, got to take out brand new ships. I also was in the evolution of Playlist. So I was always a dancer who could sing, but then when we finally started putting mics on dancers, I was in one of the first Playlist casts, and yeah, stayed with Playlist. And then I had another paperwork snafu happened, and I was about to be left off the list, and I was going to lose my seniority and my retirement. So I was going to go to a different company, and the office asked me if I would try being a cruise director. And so I tried it, and then here I am, yeah. And I took a 1.5 years off about a year ago, and it was just because after coming back to the pandemic, it was a very, very hard and arduous process, but also I did 7 months straight on a 3 and 4 day contract, and especially with all the restrictions from the pandemic, it was a really, really hard contract, and I don't think I realized it until I got home. And when I got home, I just kind of shut down, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just going to take a break. And I did comedy, and I did musicals, and just kind of felt things out. And then last year, I knew they were looking for people, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll come back and do swing work. And I like being a swing, just like I always liked it when I was a dancer, because I can come in and out of areas. I can kind of be as bright as I possibly can be, try to help people, try to fix things, try to get things where everybody wants it, and then peace out after a couple of months. And it's kind of nice just to be that little breath of fresh air for people. And it's kind of like what being a cruise director is like as well. You're kind of that person who tries to come in and give everybody energy, and then you peace out. So yeah.
Very cool. All right, great. Well, the second question then, and you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but energy and personality of a cruise director, I find so fascinating, because you go from one cruise to the next, and you have to flip that switch right back on, and have that same energy and personality, because the people coming on, obviously they want the same experience and the same fun and same energy out of you as the previous one did. So what I don't think many people could do the job of a cruise director. What percentage of people in the population out in the world do you think could pull this off?
Well, I think there's a mix of answers there, because there are cruise directors who turn it on, is what I would say. And then there are cruise directors who just naturally have it. And it's not a good or a bad thing either way. We're all performers. So in some aspects, everyone's performing. But then there are people who just naturally have a higher energy level. So technically, I think anyone can do it. I don't think it's as comfortable for people. I'd say probably 10 or 20% of the population would be comfortable giving that energy all the time, but anyone can do it. I've known people who they're very on and off, they turn it on stage, and then when they come into their regular life, they're very calm and they're very, just normal, just no extra, no boom. And it works for them. And some people, I think, like, that's better for them. For me, I've always been a person who's like been a little too much in most situations. So this is one of those jobs where they're finally like, oh, this is just about the right amount of energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Third question. What do cruisers compliment you about the most, about your style? What do they see as your biggest strengths as a cruise director?
Usually, I think it's usually the energy is one of the things, because like I said, I have always been somebody who's too much. The energy, the dancing, the singing, usually those are my main three. I try to be like really nice. I love doing kids stuff, so like I try to interact with the kids stuff as much as possible. But I'd say definitely dancing, singing, and energy are probably my top ones.
All right, great. Next question number 4. Are there things you've seen in other cruise directors that you would like to incorporate more in your cruise director style?
I definitely wouldn't mind having the mind that other cruise directors have. I am terrible at paperwork. I am terrible at organization and that kind of stuff. I'm very at home flying by the seat of my pants. Like when things go wrong and it's just, you have to step in and do this, you have to go get that, like that's easy for me. My problem is like the planning, the coordinating, the focus of it isn't my thing. Like when I'm on stage, I know what to do, I know what to say, it just happens. But when it comes to like the paperwork, scheduling, all that other stuff, I know so many cruise directors who are so good at that back of house stuff. And if I was just a little bit better, I think my life would be a lot less stressful. Like I think I would truly just be relaxed all the time. And so that would be one of those things. Like I wish I had a little bit more of that side of the brain, which I just definitely don't. I'm definitely wild all the time. Like keeping focus is definitely one of the hardest things for me.
And that's a great point too. And not a lot of people know this because they just see you on stage and entertaining and everything. What percentage of your job would you say is doing like that scheduling and the paperwork and all that kind of stuff?
For me, it's probably about 30 to 40%, just because it takes me so long to do it. I think for other people, it's probably less because they're quicker at it. They do it better. I've just never been one of those people. Like it's never been a focus for my schooling. It's never been a focus for my education. So I'm much slower than most people at that kind of stuff. So I would say for me, it's probably about 30 to 40%. And you have to remember too, that's 30 to 40% outside of your stage time, outside of when you're working on stage and you're out in front of people. So usually that means it cuts into your sleep time. It cuts into your rest hours. It cuts into your time to just hang out with people and, you know, hang out with the team and stuff. And so that's why I would say like, that's what I would hope to be able to absorb from other cruise directors.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, great answer. Next question number 5. How difficult is it to stay in reasonably good shape when you have the plethora of food options, like your guys burgers, your tacos, your burritos, your chocolate melting cakes, all that stuff?
I think for me, it's not too bad. I'm actually much worse at home. Like keeping me busy is the thing that keeps me fit. Like I dance at most of my parties. I go wild. If you ever see me, I'm sweaty. Like I'm definitely, that high energy comes at a cost of me having to take about 6 showers a day. So the burning it off isn't a problem. And the fact that I'm usually so busy that I don't have that much time to overeat, it's pretty good. And I've been really good this contract about going to the gym almost every day. So it's not too bad on this one. I have had contracts like where if we were on really, really long cruises like in Europe and stuff, then it would be a little bit harder because I have more downtime and more alone time, and that's when I eat. Like I am a monster eater when I'm by myself, like because my brain, it's just like with everything else, it'll go off on a tangent, but it'll go off on a tangent in food, and I'll be like, oh, you know, I'll make, like if I'm at home, oh, it's terrible. Playing video games, it'll be like, oh, I have some bagel bites, you know, in the oven, but while that's going, I'll have a piece of toast. While that's going, I want some ice cream, and it all cycles through again and again. So at home is where, when I'm not being like on a schedule, when I don't have to dance all the time, I'm not like needed places, that's when I'll gain my weight. On a cruise ship though, not so bad. And also things like guys burgers, like so delicious. So there's definitely like a thing where, because we have so many different food options, you kind of schedule around it. We have enough healthy, good food as well. And I'm pretty good about like one meal a day as a salad, you know what I mean, with extra stuff on the side, but I'll usually get a pretty green meal at least once a day. Plus I was vegetarian for a long time, so I think that helps me out for a while as well.
Okay. Yeah, very good. All right, next one, It's a good question here. Your top 3 moments as a cruise director.
Top 3 moments as a cruise director. Probably one, and I'm not exactly saying this is a good moment, but what my very first cruise, everything went wrong. Like everything went wrong that could have gone wrong. I was supposed to be doing boat drill, and the elevators broke on my ship, and you can't set sail without elevators. So like I had to, in between doing boat drill, help the captain with his speech and then repeat his speeches I've never read. It's my first day as a cruise director. And then I'm running up and down from the bridge to go to sail away party. Then I have to go back up, make another announcement, write out the captain's announcement, make the announcement, run back down to do fa-fa, run back up, make another announcement, run back down. And like we didn't set sail, I think, till like 6 or 7 at night. So then by the time I finish all that, it's welcome aboard show. And like just everything, I was like, woo, well, if I can make it through this, I can make it through anything. Right. And then I had like a couple of people get injured during that cruise as well. So it was just like, I just remember one of my friends, No, she was a cruise director at the time. And she was just like, please don't quit. And I was like, I'm fine. It's just a lot. But I find also that's the kind of thing that I excel at. Like if things go wrong, my brain usually just switches over and goes, oh, yeah, I just gotta deal with it. Like, and it's like a change in mode for me because I'm like, well, it's already gone wrong. That's actually how I got the job with Carnival. It was funny. I fell doing kicks across the floor. First thing fell out of a kick. I've never fallen in a kick before. In an audition, I fell. And after that, it was the best audition of my life because I was like, well, I'm already going home. So I may as well just dance.
Yeah, very cool. Was there a couple other ones that's the one you wanted to...
So that's one of the big ones that always sticks in my mind as like a huge moment. We also one time had a really great cruise that you would have thought would have been a bad one because we ended up losing 2 port days because of a hurricane, and then we also ended up having an extra day added to the cruise, so it was going to mess up the next cruise. But it was really cool because like the whole crew came together and the guests, and we put parties together on the fly. And that's always one of those hard things, is when you have to adapt to extra time, an extra sea day, anything like that. It's always a scramble for entertainment. But with that team and with that guest profile, it was just great. Like we had a really, really fun time. So it was one of those, like, I don't know, like silly, cheesy, almost kumbaya moments, because it was like, oh, everybody made the best out of it. And like, you know, you always worry that you're gonna get killed in the ratings or something if something like that happens. But it was great, and we made the best of it. And you know, it was still hard for some people. I know a lot of people get very scared when it's rocky and stuff, but I think it ended up being a good thing. Yeah. And then actually I'd say my third one would be, I've had a couple of really special birthdays, like where I got to go places on my birthday that were just amazing. Like in Europe and stuff, I got to go to a big opera in an open air symphonium, and it was just amazing. And it was like for my birthday and everything. And then actually just a few days ago on June 5th, they did the big nice happy birthday for me in the main lounge. And then that night I got to just have like great times talking to some of my favorite people on the ship. So
nice. Well,
yeah,
happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Geminis, there's so many on the ship.
Okay. You mentioned a couple of these already, but another embarrassing moment as a cruise director?
As a cruise director, embarrassing moment. I think I don't usually have too many embarrassing moments. Usually, like, I'll have silly moments where I don't notice things or don't realize I'm doing things. But I don't think I've had too many. As a dancer, I had tons. Like, I've fallen off stages. I've fallen off giant staircases. Usually if my mom cruises with me, we both fall. It's just a thing. We always know it's going to happen. One of us will fall at certain times during the day. I've split my pants multiple times on stage, dancing, especially teaching Thriller dance class. One time I popped my pants perfectly on a move, and I was, of course, wearing bright, hot pink underwear at the time. So yeah, that was probably one of the most embarrassing. I've definitely had a time where my phone changed to the pier time, and so I've been a pier runner before. One of those people like, oh my gosh, I'm late for the ship. And so I remember one time like running in flip-flops to catch the ship and everybody watching me come up. Yeah. But yeah, as a cruise director, can't think of too many things. I mean, I don't embarrass easily because I'm very silly. So like the most things that I think most people would be embarrassed of are daily habits for me. So yeah, like, but I can't think of anything too big. It'll probably be one of those things like tonight. I'll like that memory will like seize my brain. I'm like, oh no, there it was. That's the most embarrassing thing I ever did. Yeah, I think I've usually been pretty good. I hate messing up names though. That is the worst thing in the world for me. And there has been a couple of captain's celebrations where I left somebody off the list. And so then you've got somebody waiting to go on the stairs and they're like, hey, what about me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that kills my heart. Like when I forget something like that. But those always make me nervous. Anytime I have to read the senior officer names, I'm always like panicking inside. I don't know why, but anything else I can do, no problem. Saying people's names, hate it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you've done a lot of contracts and gone to a lot of different ports and things like that. Is there a particular itinerary that you've really enjoyed recently or in the past where you just love the ports? And
Yeah.
what was that itinerary that you really enjoyed the most?
I always loved Puerto Vallarta and Cabo, and I think I was doing that out of San Diego. That's a great run. The one we do here, though, is obviously really good, too. We've got Aruba, La Romana, Amber Cove, and
Bonaire.
Bonaire, yes, thank you. But yeah, great ports. My favorite, though, up in Europe, being able to go to Portugal, Spain, I love Barcelona. Barcelona is like a great port. England was really fun too. I think Russia would have been fun, but you could only really go directly to the museums. You couldn't really go off in the port when we were there. South America was amazing. Brazil, getting to go to Argentina was gorgeous. I would say my top two favorite are definitely like Barcelona and Argentina are great, like great cities. But I always separate them a little bit because in Barcelona people bump into you a lot and they touch you a lot, and I'm a very sweaty person and I hate seeing people's face when they slide across my sweat and they're like, ugh. And like Barcelona, that was every 3 seconds. And Argentina is very busy as well. Lots of people, but it's like swimming with fishes. They never touch you. So I was very happy. I could gesticulate to my heart's content.
Very good. And were those part of Journey cruises or?
They were actually, I was on the inaugural cast of The Splendor for dancing. And so we were so lucky. We did 14 months with a 2-week work break. So technically 13 and a half. But because we did that, we got to go Upper Europe, Lower Europe, over to New York. We did the East Coast for a little while, and then we did all the way around South America to the West Coast.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we called it the Splendor World Tour. It was so crazy.
That's amazing. Okay, 9th question here. Something unique about yourself that would surprise people.
I don't know if it would surprise people, but I'm a big video game nerd, and so I don't think that part would surprise people. But the type of video games that I am very, very deep into, the like action RPGs, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, like they're like grr and like, you know, feisty and like murderous, I would say. And I don't think I give that energy very often, but in a video game, yeah, I'm pretty grr and like competitive. I would say that's probably one. Like I'm just an all-around performer though, so there's very few jobs in entertainment that I don't like love or do when I'm on break. And like I think it's always one of those things that people are surprised about, that I've had so many random jobs, but when you're a performer, you always have to have a second job everywhere. And so I think the fact that I was a terrible house cleaner wouldn't surprise people. I was a really good Jamba Juice worker. If you need energy, and Jamba Juice always needed energy, I was great at that. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Here's a question, and I think you've kind of already given us this in some different answers, but I'll ask it anyway. If you weren't a cruise director, what other career would you see yourself enjoying?
Yeah, I will always do multiple jobs. So like right now, I still sing, I still dance, I still act. Voiceover work is something I want to get into now. If I wasn't going to be something performance though, because I think you'd have to take that away to take away the things that I'm gonna still do, I think I wouldn't mind being a writer. I think I like the idea of teaching. But I don't want to go to school for that long. I've done my school time, but yeah, I think I wouldn't mind being a teacher. I like helping people learn things, and I like helping people figure out things. And I've been a dance teacher in the past, so I know I'm usually pretty good with kids and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Well, you mentioned a couple of them already, but ships that you've worked on and your favorite among the ships you've worked on, and maybe a ship you haven't worked on that you think you would like to work on.
So for ships that I've worked on, there's so many, but the ones that I like the most, the Pride was like a great ship. It was one of the first times I was a dance captain, and the my first cast on the Pride, like we just all bonded. Like on the very first day, we knew we were going to be friends. We had a really hard day. Again, I love when people take something that's like would be negative to most people and turn it into a positive thing. And I just remember we had like the hardest day of rehearsals. It was terrible. It was bad. And then we all got on the bus to go back to our hotel, and we all went, should we just go to a bar? Do we want to drink? And like everyone was like, yes. And we were like, this is a good cast. We like each other. We get each other. And like literally that cast, we did so many random things, like raising extra money for charity by putting a show together on the ship. We did like extra stuff for the crew. Like it was just such a good, well-rounded, bonded cast. But also we would laugh so hard. And on the Pride, like I'll remember that forever. Same thing with the Splendor. Like it was a big, hard startup. It was a very long contract, but like friends forever with all those people. For ships I would like to do, I'm pretty open. Like it's funny, as a cruise director, as a dancer, I always went for the shows. And like, I've never been a person that has to go to ports. I've been very, very lucky and gotten to go to ports. And there's been a couple of times like where if my parents wanted to go to Hawaii, I'd be like, okay, I'll try to get a Hawaii ship this year, as long as it had good shows. But as a cruise director, I'm my shows, so I don't mind. And that's why I kind of like being a swing. I don't know if I would enjoy the XL class. They're so big. Like they're such a different product. I wouldn't mind trying it, but I'm not one of those people. Like there's definitely cruise directors out there who are like, I want it. I want the big ship. I want to take out the new stuff. I'm like, I'm good. I've taken out new ships. I've done all that kind of stuff. Like I don't mind doing it. If they wanted me for it, I wouldn't say no. But it's one of those things where I just don't really have a preference. I think for me, the people that are on the ship, that's what matters. Like if there's a great team, if I've got friends in the cast or friends on the team that I can go and be with, that'll probably make my decision about where the best ones are. Yeah.
I kind of agree with you on that. I think this is my favorite ship, honestly.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I've been
She's
on the
so
XL
good.
class ships,
Yeah.
but this seems to have be the right size.
Yep.
And still offer a bunch of amenities.
Yep.
So it's a newer ship, but it's not so massive that
Yep.
you just feel lost or like you can't do
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, I'm
She's
kinda
navigatable.
yeah, I wish they would. It doesn't seem like the plan is to ever, keep building ships this size. It seems like bigger. But I mean, I hope this ship and ships like this size
Stick
stay
around.
in the fleet forever. Because
No, I feel you on that. And like even smaller ships, like there's definitely a thing, and crew members talk about this all the time. Smaller ships, because it's smaller, you get to know crew members better. You get to know all the different departments better. Like back in the Celebration, the original Celebration when I started, we were living in the hallway with everyone. Right. So like our mess, and there was only one crew mess, and now there's like 3. But like you knew everybody. Like every person on the ship knew your name and everything. Mm-hmm. And as the ships get bigger, like you can sign on with someone, even on this ship, and if you're not in a department together, you'll be like, hey, when'd you get back? And they'll be like, I've been here for 6 months. And it's just, you can completely miss people if your schedules don't align. Yeah. And so I agree. Like, I love a smaller ship. And I think also, though, Carnival, most likely, because not all ports can handle an XL class. Like, there's even ones where they have to tender every time. So I think that they probably will begin to, like, make smaller ships again, I would think, just because they'll have more access. And also some ports don't need to have that high of a number, because remember, if you make the space, you have to fill it.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so what advice would you give to a new cruiser to get the most fun out of their fun ship experience?
Definitely 2 things. Number 1, try new things. It's so funny because I just did Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham this morning, but it's a very basic thing. Try new things. And cruising is the perfect taste test. Cruising is that thing where you can go, do I like this island? Do I like, this food? Do I like this excursion? Do I like all this stuff? It's dip your toe in the water, try new things, but also you're on vacation. So do some things that you're gonna like. Do some things that are directly for you, because that's one of the hardest things. I feel like we go on vacation and we're like, I have to do this because it's on the bucket list, or it's on, the list of things that everybody loves. And then we miss out on the things, like even just simple things like eating the food you want to eat, having a nap, having, taking some time for yourself to do the things that are going to make you feel better at the end of your vacation, whether it's reading your book by the pool, swimming, doing something specifically for yourself on your trip. Even if you're with a big family group, separating for a second is okay. Not everyone has to love everything the same. You'll have something to talk about at dinner. So try new things, but also do something for yourself on your cruise. Make sure that you're making that vacation a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Try new things, because I have some friends that really aren't into theater or whatever.
Yeah.
And I tell them when they come on this ship or another ship that has the Celestial Strings production, I'm like,
you're gonna love it.
You have to go see this.
You're gonna love it.
It's like, if you don't like this show, then you can say you can't watch theater or whatever. But I've never taken a person to see Celestial Strings that wasn't like, wow, that was amazing or whatever.
Yeah.
And that production, I've probably seen it more than a dozen times, and I enjoy it every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what's coming, most of the time, and I still enjoy it that much. And I mean, it seems like the cast really gets into that.
Yes.
They get into all of them.
They do. This cast is amazing on here.
Yeah.
Like, I love them so much.
Yeah, the singers, and I mean, there's not a weak link among
No.
them. They're great. Yeah, it's a great cast, absolutely. Okay, I only have one more question for you, and this one is: who were mentors for you prior to becoming a cruise director?
That's always tough. For cruise directors, I would say like some of my biggest mentors. There was. I'm not going to be able to remember his name. It's a great mentor, Pauly. There, of course, people like Mike Pack. He was one of the ones that actually started putting my name out to the office. He used to have like a little mini powwow on his ships, and this was when I was a dance captain. And he would do things like come in and like teach people like basics of cruise director. And it was always one of those things, like he's one of those people that would be like, well, if you really want it, you'll show up to it. Like, and even at the time I was a dancer and I was like, well, I don't really want to be a cruise director, but I would show up to his things because he asked me to come to them. And so like, he'd be like, you show initiative. And I'm like, well, you're my friend. You asked me to come to something. I'm going to come to this. And it was great though, because he would teach me different things, but also he saw potential in me because I was definitely one of his people that he'd be like, I really want you on my party because I know you'll know what to do if I just throw something at you. If I ask you to act something out, or if I ask you to do something. So I'd say he was definitely one of my mentors. Chris Roberts, thank you. It came back to me. He was one of my very first cruise directors, and it was just so funny because cruise directors have evolved so much. And he was definitely one of those more laid back. He had like a very husky voice, and he was from Texas, and just great guy. But I loved his stuff because he was very theatrical, and he had a Blues Brothers show. And so he would always be Jake, and he always needed an Elwood, and he was the first one that actually let me sing on stage, because back in 1.0 days, dancers didn't sing. Pauly did, but we didn't have mics. But so I got to be his Elwood and sing in the Blues Brothers band. It was great. So he was definitely one of those. And then of course, gotta say it, John Heald. He was my cruise director for I think 4 years at a certain point in time. That man could sell ice to an Eskimo. He's one of those cruise directors that when he would speak over the loudspeaker, you would see crew members stop and listen to him, because they would be waiting for his joke. They'd be waiting for him to say something silly or funny. He also, when you were going into Venice, he would just point out buildings and be like, this is Oprah's house, or this is someone's house, and we'd all believe it. And I was also so bad at picking up on when things were a part of a show. If you tell me something and I like you, I believe you. I'm like, why would you lie? Even though I'm in shows, even though I've been in magic shows, and I know that there are tricks to entertainment, absolutely dumb when it comes to some things. And I remember just all the time being flabbergasted about how many times John Heald's things were a show, and I'd be like, what? I thought that was just random. Like, such a good entertainer. Yeah. So I'd say those are probably my top 3 people who like kind of inspired me as a cruise director. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Paully, thank you so much for doing this interview. And could you just tell us to end this, how much longer you'll be on the horizon, and then if you have any future dates or whatever that you can share with everybody so they might know if they're going to have you as a cruise director?
Yeah, so I'm on here until July 14th, and then Georgia will be coming back, and then I head over to the Spirit. I want to say I'll be heading over there on August 6th. And then I'll be on the Liberty in January. But yeah, this year I'm just a swing, so I'm bouncing around. And you can always also find us if you go to the Airtable for Carnival Cruise Line cruise directors. It shows the lineup for usually about a year and a half, or at least 6 to 8 months, like for the next ship and the next cruise director. So it's always a good way to check in on who, because we change all the time. Like, people have vacations, weddings, things always come up. That's why I love being a swing, so I can bounce around and help those people go do their things.
Great.
So yeah, look for me. I'll be on the Spirit in August, and January the Liberty.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, thanks so much. It was a great interview, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is Paully, everybody. All right. Take care.
Oh, YouTubers, check me. This is Cookie, your cruise director on the Carnival Horizon down in Miami, Florida. Trust me, number one, you want to follow this man's channel, Coach Cruise, because he's the absolute best coach out here. Not about fitness, but about cruising. Trust me, he's going to make sure you have the best time ever, because he knows the ins and outs of every cruise that you go on. So click that like, follow button, and share more about this brother right here. Not only is he my coach, but he's my cousin. We'll see you all on the next cruise. Until then, we're out of here.
All
Peace.
right.
I just can't get away from a good time.